Hey everybody, I'm John here from American Eagle Plumbing, and today we're going to talk a little bit about water heaters. And this particular water heater that I have next to me is a heat pump water heater. Now, it's a traditional water heater, it's electric, but the difference here in this water heater is that it's going to grab the ambient air temperature and it's going to pull the moisture and the heat out of the air to heat the water. And then in return, it's going to actually cool down the space that it's in. So we're in a warehouse. When this water heater kicks on, it's going to pull the heat out of the warehouse and help cool the rest of it. So it's going to pull the heat out and give you cool air. So we're going to install this water heater just like a traditional water heater. The only main difference that we have is the water inlets are going to be on the side of the tank. So on a traditional tank style, you got your hot and your cold up here, but on this particular water heater, they're in the side. So we have to repipe some of these water lines down to the side strap and support them properly. And so now I've gotten this previously temp water line, I got it all disconnected. So that's going to allow me to go ahead and place my supports on the wall, and then we can start piping to it. When installing PEX, it's really important, or really any kind of water piping, it's really important that you get that properly strapped so that it doesn't flop around. I'm using split ring hangers and 2-hole wall plates is what I'm using here. And I've already pre-cut some threaded rod, so I got my distance from the wall, make that level. So I'm going to go ahead and screw these in and so I can get this bottom part started and supported. All right, so now we got our main support, our incoming water line, and our main shutoff valve installed. The next thing that we need to install is going to be the outside faucet. So this water line here goes out to the outside faucet in the front of the building. So we're going to be putting in our T and hooking this up with the shutoff valve so we can drain it out for the winter. In this particular case, we're going to be installing the pressure reducing valve here in the building, and our outside faucet is going to be full pressure. So the pressure or PSI here, water pressure, is about 85 PSI. So we're going to leave our front faucet at full pressure, and then we're going to knock that down and reduce it for the rest of the plumbing fixtures. And so that's going to get installed right up here, and that will protect our plumbing fixtures. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. Just get our height of where our T needs to be. It's right at 34 inches. I got my fitting right here, and we'll place that right at 34 so we know where our center is. And then I can just place my finger right there where the hub of the fitting goes into it. And once I get this cut, probably going to get a little bit of, oh yeah, a little bit of water. There's been some water sitting in here because we had a temporary water service, but now that has all drained out on top of me, which is all right because I'm a plumber. All right, putting on the finishing touches, we're installing the pressure reducing valve. So now we're at the point where we can start to install the water softener. We got our shutoff valve for our outside faucet, that's installed, our main shutoff valve, and here's our pressure reducing valve. So we're gonna get all our supports installed next for the water softener, and then start installing the supports for the main water lines up to our cold and our hot, because we have to pipe them over to this side, the right side of the water heater. I've gone ahead and done some prep work on our water softener. So this is the outlet that goes in the back of the bypass valve. So it's really important that you take some faucet grease, lubricate these O-rings so that when you push them in, they stay put and they slide. So I'm going to go ahead and lubricate all of the O-rings, not only on these adapters, but I'm also going to lubricate the O-rings on the bypass valve, and then I can slide everything in place and then pipe over to it. Now that we have all our hangers installed and I kind of have some pipe sitting in them so I know what direction I want to go, I have my water softener tied in. So for my pressure reducing valve, the first thing it's going to hit is the water softener. It's going to go in through the unit and coming out soft, and then it's going to come and feed both the water heater and then the rest of the building. So I'm going to go ahead and crimp these fittings, and I use a Viega style crimper and put it over the stainless steel sleeve ring and squeeze it. And once it releases, I know that that fitting has been properly crimped. Now on this type of fitting, there is a little eyelet so you can see your clear pipe through it. That's how you know that the piping and the fitting is all the way in place. And it's always important to double check when you're doing that to make sure that if you've done any prefab work, that prefab work hasn't popped out or gotten disconnected. Now, sometimes these fittings get a little tight where you can't fit your tool in. So this tool has it's kind of like an adjustment where you can get your jaw back in that place. and get it over the crimp ring so that you can get it squeezed. All right, before we hook up the water heater, I have some pre-soldered adapters that I'm gonna install in the hot and the cold leads. But before I do that, I need to make sure I put this drain pan in underneath the water heater. So normally when you put a drain pan in, you have to elevate your water heater, or if you have a gas water heater, that gas water heater has to be at least 18 inches off the ground and up on a stand. But because it's an electric, I can set it right on the concrete. And also this building has a floor drain, so I don't need to elevate the water heater to get this pan drain out of the building. So I'm just gonna set this on the ground, and then I can pipe over the pan drain right to the floor drain to meet code. And I don't need to elevate it because it's an electric water heater. So I'm gonna slide this water heater out of the way, put my pan down, and then pop the water heater back in place so we can start plumbing up the water heater. Now the water heater is all piped together. We have our hot tied in with a dielectric water heater union, and that is transitioned back to PEX. And we just gotta make that final 90 and then 90 up into the hot side. And our cold, this is all tied together from our water softener. This feeds your water heater, and then this is gonna feed the rest of the building on the cold side. All right, last but not least, I need to install an expansion tank. Now, an expansion tank is necessary because previously we talked about a pressure reducing valve, and that pressure reducing valve creates a one-way system into the whole plumbing system. And what this does, it relieves the pressure of thermal expansion of the water heater here. And there's a two-part system into this tank. On this side, there's a thick rubber bladder, and that's gonna take the water pressure incoming through this device right here. So that's gonna push up into the tank. But on this side, you can see underneath here, there's a Schrader valve, and that Schrader valve introduces air, which pushes back down against that rubber bladder. And ideally, you want to have whatever water pressure going into this tank, you want the same amount or within 2 psi of air on this side. So it's always important once you finish your installation to check your water pressure and then make sure that you balance your system. I know that I'm going to be setting it and dialing it into 60 psi. So I've gone ahead and put 60 psi of air into this tank. I used a bike pump to add more air. They come pre-charged at about 40 psi, so I had to add 20. So when I install this, I'm gonna be adding a service valve. I have a bracket that's gonna hang on the wall, and these bands are gonna go around this expansion tank. So it's gonna sit just like this, and I'm gonna pipe it up here. I'm gonna throw in a service valve right here. So that's gonna go right here, and then I'm gonna tie it back into the cold water system. So when I have to replace the tank, I can easily just shut the valve off here, disconnect this from the water piping system, drop it after I open up these brackets, and then reinstall a new one. So for most of what we do, we try to think a couple steps ahead for when things have to be replaced, and adding a service valve is highly important. We're gonna go ahead and install this. I'm gonna put these bands, and then I'm gonna pipe over to it, and then I'll come back and I'll show you once we got that all wrapped up. Here's the final installation of the expansion tank with our red service valve above it. The expansion tank is strapped and supported to the wall, so it can't go anywhere, and our system is now complete. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the installation of the water softener and water heater behind me. If you have any questions or comments, put them below. Please don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends and family. Thanks so much. I'm John from American Eagle Plumbing. Be great.